We are here on the Muevmnt Matters podcast. I'm your host, Maher. Today, we have the pleasure of being at Afflatus Hijab with owner and founder, Wedad Amiri. We're going to be talking to her today about her business, what inspired her to do what she did. So, Wedad?
First of all, thank you for having me. I sell modest dresses, skirts, and clothing, which really is just oversized clothing and long sleeve dresses and floor length skirts. The reason I started it was back in 2014, there was really nothing for Muslim women to wear to events like weddings and engagements. So I decided to create my own line that was affordable, but already you didn't need any alterations.
Your name, Afflatus Hijab, has become a common household name in Edmonton. It's something that now is grown, mashallah, to something great. I know there's a deeper inspiration to those products, if you can kind of elaborate on that for me.
Initially, I wanted to create designs for Muslim women because we didn't have that option in 2014. But in the same breath, I wanted my brand to stand for something. So we really focus on women empowerment and destigmatizing mental illnesses. So initially, I wanted to name them after Muslim women. Each piece was named after a strong Muslim woman to change the narrative of how people saw Muslim women in the media. So I wanted to change that because Muslim women around the world, from even back in the day, were doing such amazing things. But then I realized, why just focus on Muslim women and not women in general? So I started naming them after Indigenous women, women dealing with mental illnesses, single moms, really anything or anybody that was marginalized by society. And I think with all of that, it kind of created a community by sharing their stories. And I think that's the most important thing with Afflatus. Usually right before I think of a line or like a theme or a campaign. So for example, say single moms, that was inspired by my mom. So that piece, we named a piece after my mom, and then I put it out on social media, and I'd get a bunch of messages, but not everybody is comfortable sharing their story. So that's another part of it, right? So some people I do know in the campaign, the last one, the woman entrepreneur one, I knew most of those ones, and I contacted those people, but for the rest of them, it's kind of hard. For the mental health ones or the mental illness ones, single moms, refugees, I rely a lot on the people that follow me to kind of help me.
They say if you want to learn or you want to gain knowledge, you should travel, go check out different cultures, different things. Do you feel like those travels, those experiences influence when you're actually designing your clothing?
A little bit. I think when people think of fashion, they tend to think of North America. Like a lot of people from North America think they have the best style. Yeah. But when you go and travel, like when I was in Vietnam, the fashion in Vietnam is ridiculous. Like they have really high-end dresses and they're expensive. And then you go to Lebanon, it's same thing. Jordan, same thing. Turkey, same thing. And they're so much more ahead of us than in North America. So yeah, when I did travel, I did get inspired by the evening wear in all of those places. I also don't like to duplicate services in our community. Right. So there was one lady who sells beautiful evening gowns that you would find like the mother of the bride or the sister of the bride or groom would wear. And then there was just like, Zara, H&M, whatever. Right. There was nothing in between. I wanted the in-betweener. So like you want to go to a wedding, you want to look good, but you want to spend $100 to $150 on a nice modest dress. Right. That's where I came in. There was nothing in between. Yes. So I don't, and then people would be like, "Well, can you custom make a dress for me?" I'm like, no, that already exists in our community. I don't like to duplicate. Was it more like you felt like, okay, I have a hard time getting this stuff, or was it you saw like a need in the community for this? No, I just was frustrated. I couldn't find anything for myself. Okay. It wasn't supposed to be a business. It was like, I just want somebody to make clothes for me. That's what I wanted. Then I started saying it to my friends and family, like, oh, like, what if I started a clothing line? Ha ha ha. They're like, that'd be great. I'm like, really? Okay. And then I had a fashion show, and the first fashion show I had, nobody knew it was me. I told my friends, like, sell tickets, but don't tell anybody it was me. I was so nervous. And then that day we had the fashion show, and I sold out of all of the pieces that I had. And I was like, this could be a business. That's cool. And that's kind of how it started. I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs talk about this concept of they see somebody else doing something, or they see something that they see a need for, and see a need, fill a need. You wanted something, you decided nobody else is doing it. This is what I believe our community needs more. We need more people like yourself who are wanting to make a difference. Do most of your sales tend to be from local or out of Edmonton? Edmonton is a huge piece, but Calgary is another one. Toronto, Ontario area is another huge piece for me. The East and the West, I don't know why. Those two parts are huge. And then parts of the States. So mainly North America is my biggest piece. But I've sold all over. I've sold all over Europe. I've sold to the Middle East. The thing is right now, because the modest industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, there is a new business that pops up with modest fashion probably every day on social media. Then on top of it, you're competing with these big corporations like Nike, Dolce & Gabbana, that really want to have modest clothing for Muslim women because they know they'll spend the money. From 2014, when there was really nobody, you're competing with a lot of people. Asia has tons of Muslim brands. North America has tons of Muslim brands. And obviously the Middle East has tons of Muslim brands. So, of course, I would love to be in every continent.
Yes.
Inshallah, one day.
How long after the fashion show did you decide, okay, I'm going to run this business or try to turn this into something bigger?
Well, I also launched my website that night.
Busy
I
day
don't know
for
what
you.
I was doing, to be honest. And then I remember going to sleep and I woke up with 3 orders. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, oh no, what is happening? I got overwhelmed. Like, what did I do? I have to stick with this now. And that's just kind of how it started. But I learned my first lesson very early on. I had gotten a bunch of pieces for my fashion show and I sold them. And I also took orders for future ones. Like, they paid me. I was just like, I'm like, I'll take your money. Cool. I'm like writing these orders. And then I go to tell my seamstress, I'm like, yeah, I need 20 of these, 10 of these, 16 of those.
Wow.
And she's like, no, that's not how it works. You have to order a minimum of 100 per piece. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I have everyone's money. I started panicking. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I can't do this for you. I'm like, no, you're going to have to do this for me, please. She's like, I will do this for you, but you cannot contact me after that. So that was my first lesson.
From the fashion show you promoted it, I'm guessing?
I didn't have social media. I'm like, ugh, I have to get social media now.
Okay.
I had deleted it for like 2 years. I never had Instagram. And they're like, you're going to have to create an Instagram. I'm like, I don't even know how to use Instagram. So I created that account the morning of my fashion show.
Wow.
And then, that's just how it happened.
That's crazy.
And then I was like, follow me on
amazing,
Instagram.
Yeah.
And whoever came to the fashion show told their friends, told their cousins, and I got my first order.
How much do you feel motivated by people who buy into you? Or for example, again, I'm going to keep bringing it up because I love it, the way that you feature people. Is there a level that you feel like you want to keep going almost to continue to feature the people again, not even the product itself, but to keep putting people's names out there, to keep highlighting women in our community?
That's probably the most important thing that I do for my brand. Everything else comes secondary. So sharing people's stories and the struggle with mental health and mental illnesses. When I first started, everybody's like, you're talking about mental illnesses? I'm like, yeah, so what's a big deal? You think we don't deal with it in our community? Of course we do. People are so into it. People are getting help. People are asking me for references for where to go to a therapist. We have mental health talks. I started a mental health group at one point. I'm very passionate about mental health and people getting help. At the end of the day, when you're buying a piece from Afflatus, you're buying a story. That piece has a story, and that story is about a woman who had trials or tribulations, successes. Like, they're not supposed to be sad, but at the same time, everybody goes through something and their story can help another person or another woman. So a lot of the mental health ones helped a lot of women to seek help, to go talk to their doctor or to go see a therapist. And that was really important for me. The Women Entrepreneur campaign was to let women know you could be any age, do whatever you think, like whatever you love. Don't do something that you think is going to make you a lot of money because that's not going to be successful. But do something that you love and then make it successful. I want women to be entrepreneurs. I want them to have a side hustle and follow their passion and their creativity. That's all super important. That theme has to stay with Afflatus, or else I won't feel that I'm authentic to why I even started this.
Obviously, some of the topics that you have on your page can be more sensitive. What feedback do you get from women who are featured on the page?
Because I still think I'm just a small little business, I don't think it's that wild, but I know they're very thankful for it and they're happy that they're picked. I think, like, to me, I'm like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Of course I'd pick you. It's cool to share your story and have especially if you're running a small business, to have it on another platform. It's cool. So they're very thankful and very happy about it.
What would you recommend to any entrepreneur who wants to kind of start something, or they might believe in something they're not too sure? What advice would you give them?
Number one, don't start it if you think you're going to just make money right away. Because sometimes it happens right away. Most times it doesn't. Be consistent and don't give up after one failed attempt. Because I had probably 50 in like the first couple of years, and do something that you're passionate about. Don't do something because it's in or trendy. And I'll just use the example of hijabs. It's so easy to sell hijabs. But is that your passion? Do you want to sell hijabs?
Right.
Or are you doing it for a quick buck? I want you to have passion with whatever you do. And you find the people that are passionate about what they're doing, they're the ones that are most successful with their new idea or their entrepreneurship or their new job. That's my advice.
Thank you so much for giving us the time. Honestly, I want to thank you so much for everything you're doing for the community.
Thank you.
I feel motivated by when I look at your page and by your product.
Thank you.
And by honestly what you've done for yourself, mashallah. So
Thank you.
If you can just share with everyone where we can find your location.
We're located at 5509 130th Ave. Our website is www.afflatushijab.com, and our social media handle is Afflatus Hijab.